The Calrix Dominion had ruled their part of space for 3,000 years. Their ships were massive and powerful. Their weapons could break planets apart. Their warriors were born and raised only for fighting. The Calrix believed they were the strongest species in the galaxy. They called themselves the Alpha Predators. Every species they met had either joined them willingly or been conquered by force. 47 different alien races now served under Calrix rule. When the human exploration ship appeared in their territory, the Calrix treated it like they treated everything else. They would make these newcomers understand who was in charge. Commander Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the HSS Wanderer. His crew worked quietly at their stations. The ship was designed for science and exploration, not for war. They had some basic defensive systems, but nothing that could fight a real warship. The view screen showed what was blocking their path. A Calrix dreadnought hung in space ahead of them. The alien ship was 10 times larger than the Wanderer. Its dark hull was covered in weapon ports. The message was clear even before anyone spoke. Lieutenant Amy Rodriguez looked up from her communications panel. Her face was pale. She had been monitoring the alien signals for the past hour. The translation software was still working out the language, but the tone was unmistakable. "Sir, they are sending us a message," Amy said. "The computer has finished translating their language," Jake nodded. The view screen changed. Now it showed the inside of the alien ship. A massive creature stood in the center of the view. It had 4 arms, each one thick with muscle. Its body was covered in natural armor that looked like dark metal plates. 3 eyes stared out from its head. When it opened its mouth, sharp teeth filled the space behind its mandibles. The translation software converted the alien words into English. The voice was deep and threatening. "I am War Prime Krieg of the Calrix Dominion. You have entered space that belongs to the alpha species of this galaxy. You will obey our authority, or you will die. These are your only 2 choices. Reverway." When Alpha, Jake looked at his first officer, Ryan Parker. The younger man was gripping the edge of his console so hard his knuckles were white. Ryan had been in the fleet for 5 years, but this was his first time meeting a hostile alien species. Jake kept his voice calm and steady. "This is Commander Morrison of the Human Stellar Fleet. We are on a peaceful mission to explore and learn. We did not know this space belonged to anyone. Perhaps we could talk about this situation?" The creature on the screen made a clicking sound with its mandibles. The computer identified it as laughter. "Diplomacy is for weak prey animals," Krieg said. "You are small. You are soft. You have no real weapons. You are prey. Prey does not talk with predators. Prey either obeys or prey dies." Jake felt the tension on the bridge increase. His crew was frightened. They had come out here to discover new worlds and new life. They had not expected to meet someone who wanted to conquer or kill them immediately. "I see," Jake said quietly. His hand moved to a button on his command chair. It would send a special emergency message back to Earth. The message would travel through subspace and reach human space in about 2 weeks. Krieg leaned closer to his own screen. His 3 eyes seemed to glow with anticipation. "Then you will learn why the Calrix are the alpha predators of this galaxy. Human. We have conquered 47 species. Your species will be number 48. We will take your worlds. We will make your people serve us. This is the natural order. The strong rule. The weak obey." The transmission ended. The screen went black for a moment, then returned to showing the Calrix dreadnought. Jake sat back in his chair. His mind was racing. He needed to keep his crew calm. He also needed to make sure Earth knew what was coming. "Amy, did you get that transmission recorded?" he asked. "Yes, sir. Every word." "Good. Attach it to the emergency message. Make sure Fleet Command knows exactly what these Calrix are like. Include all the sensor data we have on their ship, too." "Already done, sir. The message buoy is ready to launch." "Do it. Get that information home." A small device shot out from the Wanderer and immediately jumped into subspace. It was too small and fast for the Calrix to stop. The message was on its way. Ryan finally spoke up. "Sir, they have us completely outgunned. If they decide to attack right now, we cannot defend ourselves. What do we do?" Jake smiled, but it was not a happy smile. It was the kind of smile someone made when they were thinking dangerous thoughts. "They will not attack us yet," Jake said. "Did you notice how Krieg was talking? He was not just threatening us. He was playing with us. Predators like him enjoy the fear. They like to watch their prey panic before they strike. That gives us time." "Time for what?" Ryan asked. "It will be weeks before any help can reach us. Time to think. Time to plan. Time to send more information back home." Jake stood up and walked to the view screen. He stared at the massive alien warship. "These Calrix think they are the apex predators. They think being big and strong makes them the rulers of the galaxy. But they are about to learn something important." "What is that, sir?" Amy asked. Jake turned to look at his crew. "They are about to learn the difference between being an alpha predator and being an apex predator. The Calrix are alphas in their own territory. They are the biggest and strongest in their area. But humans did not become the apex predators of Earth by being the biggest or the strongest. We did it by being smarter, by being more patient, by never giving up no matter how hard things got." He walked back to his command chair and sat down. "The Calrix think this is over before it even started. They think we are just another weak species to add to their collection. They are wrong. And by the time they figure that out, it will be too late for them." Ryan looked confused. "Sir, I do not understand. How can we fight them? Look at that ship." Jake pulled up information on his personal screen. He was looking at old files from Earth. History files. Military files. Files about how humans had fought wars throughout their history. "Ryan, let me tell you something about humans. Throughout our history, we have been invaded, attacked, and nearly destroyed many times. Sometimes the enemy was stronger. Sometimes they had better weapons. Sometimes, 3 weeks had passed since the Wanderer sent its emergency message to Earth. The message had traveled through subspace, reaching human space in record time. Fleet Command had immediately begun preparing a response. Now, a small fleet of human ships appeared at the edge of Calrix territory. 5 ships in total, led by the HSS Defiant. The Defiant was a cruiser, designed for both exploration and combat. It was not as large as a Calrix dreadnought, but it was fast and well-armed. Captain Nicole Chen stood in the command center of the Defiant. She was a veteran officer, with 15 years of experience. She had fought in the border wars, and had commanded 3 different ships. Fleet Command chose her specifically for this mission. They needed someone who would not be intimidated by the Calrix. Nicole studied the tactical display in front of her. It showed 5 Calrix warships moving to intercept the human fleet. One of them was the same dreadnought that had confronted the Wanderer. War Prime Krieg was coming to meet them personally. "They are hailing us, Captain," said Ensign Brandon Cole from the communications station. He was young but steady. Nicole had handpicked her entire crew for this mission. "Put it on the main screen," Nicole ordered. Krieg appeared on the view screen. He looked exactly as he had in the recording from the Wanderer. 4 massive arms, natural armor plating, 3 glowing eyes. His posture radiated confidence. He clearly believed this meeting would end the same way all his other encounters ended, with submission or death. "More humans," Krieg said. His mandibles clicked in amusement. "Good. We will add your ships to our trophy collection. Your species will learn to obey the Calrix, or we will hunt you until your race is extinct. This is the way of nature. The strong survive. The weak perish." Nicole did not look impressed or frightened. She simply looked at Krieg with the same expression she might use when examining an interesting insect. "You claim to be alpha predators," Nicole said. Her voice was calm and professional. "But you are making a fundamental mistake. You think predation is only about size and strength. Let me teach you something about Earth's actual apex predator." She nodded to her science officer. Lieutenant Kyle Stevens brought up a holographic display that appeared both on the Defiance screen and transmitted to the Calrix ship. It showed a human figure rotating slowly in 3 dimensions. Kyle began his presentation. He had been a biology teacher before joining the fleet. He knew how to explain complex ideas in simple ways. "This is a human," Kyle said. The hologram highlighted different parts of the body. Average height is 1.7 meters. Average weight is 70 kilograms. We have no natural armor, no claws, no venom, no sharp teeth. Our sense of smell is weak. We cannot see well in the dark. Compared to you, Calrix, we look pathetic. Is that correct? Krieg clicked his mandibles again. You prove my point, soft creature. You are weak. You are prey. That is what many predators on Earth thought too, Nicole said. And yet, humans are the apex predator of our planet. Not because we are the biggest or the strongest, but because of how we hunt. She leaned forward slightly. Tell me, Krieg, what kind of predator are you, Calrix? Krieg seemed surprised by the question. We are ambush predators. We are fast and powerful. We strike hard and kill quickly. This is the proper way to hunt. Exactly, Nicole said. You are ambush predators. You rely on speed and strength. You attack suddenly and overwhelm your prey with superior force. That works well for you. But humans evolved differently. We are pursuit predators. Kyle pulled up another display. This one showed ancient humans hunting across vast plains. On Earth, a human hunter could track prey for days. Kyle explained. Sometimes weeks if necessary. The prey would run away fast. The human would follow slowly but steadily. The prey would stop to rest, to drink water, to eat. The human would keep walking. Always walking. Never stopping. Eventually, the prey would become too tired to run anymore. Then the human would simply walk up to it and kill it. No big fight. No fast chase. Just slow, patient, inevitable death. The display showed more information. Charts and graphs appeared, showing human biology compared to other Earth predators. Our evolutionary advantages are not obvious at first, Kyle continued. We walk on 2 legs, which allows us to run for extreme distances without getting tired. We sweat through our skin, which means we can stay cool while other animals overheat. We have excellent pattern recognition. We can think strategically and plan ahead. We use tools and weapons. But most importantly, we have patience combined with persistence. Nicole took over the explanation. You Calrix fight like you hunt. Fast. Violent. Overwhelming. You hit your enemy hard. And if they break, you win. But what happens when your enemy does not break? What happens when they just keep coming back? When they keep adapting and learning and refusing to quit, no matter how many times you knock them down? Then they die eventually, Krieg stated. His voice was flat and certain. No, Nicole said firmly. Then you discover what a real apex predator looks like. Because humans do not just hunt for food, Krieg. We hunt for sport, for challenge, for revenge, for the principle of the thing. We once hunted entire species to extinction, just because they were dangerous to us. We have fought wars that lasted for generations. Fathers would fight, then their sons would fight, then their grandsons would fight. Same war. Same enemy. Continuing. For 100 years or more. She pulled up more displays. These showed weapons. Terrible weapons. Nuclear bombs. Chemical agents. Biological warfare. We have created weapons that can destroy our entire planet, Nicole continued. We have come close to using them on ourselves multiple times during our history. We fought wars where millions of people died. We burned entire cities. We poisoned the land and water. We did terrible things to each other. And we survived all of it. We are still here. Still learning. still adapting, still refusing to quit. The command center was very quiet. Even Nicole's own crew looked uncomfortable. They knew their history, but hearing it described this way made it sound more frightening. Krieg was silent for a long moment. His three eyes studied Nicole carefully. She could see him thinking, processing this new information. "You are trying to frighten me with words," Krieg finally said. "Words mean nothing. Actions prove strength. If you are truly apex predators as you claim, prove it." "How would you like us to prove it?" Nicole asked. Krieg's mandibles spread wide. It might have been a smile. "I challenge you to the hunt of supremacy. This is an ancient Calrix tradition. Your best warrior against my best warrior. They will be placed in a neutral environment with no weapons except what they can make from materials they find. They will hunt each other. Only one will leave alive. This will prove which species is truly alpha." Nicole did not hesitate. "We accept your challenge. Name the location and time." Krieg seemed pleased. "There is a moon 3 light-years from here. Barren surface, rocky terrain, many places to hide and hunt. We will go there tomorrow. We will place both warriors on opposite sides. The hunt begins at dawn." "Agreed," Nicole said. "But understand something, Krieg. When our warrior wins, and he will win, you will acknowledge that humans are not prey. We are not subjects. We are equals. You will leave our space and never threaten us again. And when my warrior wins," Krieg countered, "your entire species will submit to Calrix rule. You will become the 48th conquered species. You will serve us." "Acceptable," Nicole said. "Prepare your champion. We will prepare ours." The transmission ended. Nicole turned to face her crew. They all looked worried. "Captain, are you sure about this?" asked Commander Linda Shaw, her first officer. "We are betting our entire species on a single fight." "No," Nicole corrected. "We are demonstrating to the Calrix exactly what kind of species we are. Win or lose, they will learn. But we will not lose." "How can you be so certain?" Linda asked. The moon was perfect for a hunt. Barren, rocky ground stretched in every direction. Deep canyons cut through the landscape. Cave systems dotted the cliffs. The temperature would swing from very hot during the day to freezing at night. There was barely any water. A few tough plants grew in sheltered spots, but most of the surface was just rock and dust. Several alien species had sent observers to watch the hunt. Word had spread quickly through the local systems. The mighty Calrix Dominion was being challenged by a new species. Everyone wanted to see what would happen. The rules were simple. 2 warriors would enter the arena from opposite sides. They could bring nothing with them except the clothes they wore. No weapons, no tools, no food, no water. They would use only what they could find or make from the environment. The hunt would continue until one warrior killed the other or until one warrior surrendered. There was no time limit. The Calrix champion was War Master Throck. He was the finest hunter in their military. He stood 3 meters tall. His forearms ended in razor-sharp claws that could tear through steel. His hide was covered in natural armor plates that had stopped bullets in previous battles. His 3 eyes could see in multiple light spectrums, including infrared heat vision. He had fought in the hunt of supremacy 17 times before. He had won all 17 times, killing champions from 17 different species. Throck stood at the southern entrance to the arena. He was confident and calm. This hunt would be no different from the others. The human was small and weak. It would try to hide, but Throck would find it quickly. Then he would kill it and claim another trophy for the Calrix. At the northern entrance, Sergeant Tyler Grant checked his surroundings carefully. He wore simple military fatigues and boots. Nothing else. He was 1.8 meters tall and weighed 85 kilograms. Next to Throck, He looked tiny and fragile. Tyler was 32 years old. He had grown up in Montana, hunting deer and elk with his father. He had joined the Marines at 18 and discovered he had a natural talent for survival training. He could find food and water where others saw nothing. He could make fire in the rain. He could navigate by stars. Most importantly, he could think clearly, even when exhausted, injured, or terrified. The signal was given. The hunt began at dawn. Throck immediately started tracking. His keen sense of smell picked up Tyler's scent easily. The human had walked north, leaving clear footprints in the dusty ground. Throck followed, at a steady pace. He was not rushing. Good hunters were patient. He would track the human carefully and strike when the moment was perfect. Tyler was indeed moving north, but he was thinking several steps ahead. He knew Throck would follow his trail. That was fine. That was part of the plan. As he walked, Tyler studied everything around him. He noticed which plants were edible. He spotted places where water might collect after rain. He identified stones that would make good tools. His brain was constantly processing information, planning, adapting. After 2 hours of walking, Tyler reached a narrow canyon. Steep cliffs rose on both sides. He climbed down into the canyon, making sure to leave obvious tracks. Then he found a spot where the canyon split into 2 paths. This was what he wanted. Tyler spent the next hour working. He gathered stones and stacked them carefully. He found long, flexible roots from the few plants growing in the canyon. He dug small holes. He prepared his trap with meticulous care. When he was done, he climbed out of the canyon using a different route. He left no tracks on this route. He carefully brushed away any signs of his passing. Throck reached the canyon 3 hours after the hunt began. He could smell the human strongly here. The trail led down into the narrow space. Throck descended carefully. His combat instincts were alert. Something felt wrong about this situation. He followed the trail to where the canyon split. The human's footprints continued into the left passage. Throck moved forward. The boulder fell from above with a loud crack of breaking rock. Tyler had spent an hour positioning it carefully, using leverage and the flexible roots as a trigger mechanism. When Throck stepped on the hidden trigger, the roots pulled away the supports. The massive rock crashed down. Throck tried to dodge, but the narrow canyon limited his movement. The boulder hit his shoulder hard, cracking his armor and crushing one of his smaller arms. Pain shot through his body. Throck roared in anger and looked up. The human was nowhere to be seen. Only the clever trap remained as evidence of his presence. Far away, Tyler heard the roar. He permitted himself a small smile. First blood. The hunt was proceeding exactly as planned. The Calrix observers in orbit were shocked. "A trap?" one of them said in disbelief. "The human prepared a trap instead of fighting?" Nicole Chen watched from the Defiant. She looked calm. "Pursuit predators do not fight fair. We fight smart. The hunt has only just begun." Krieg said nothing. His 3 eyes were fixed on the display showing Throck's injured form. This was not how hunts usually proceeded. The first day continued. Throck tried to catch up to Tyler, but the human stayed ahead. Tyler never stopped moving. He would jog for a while, then walk, then jog again. He was pacing himself, conserving energy for the long pursuit ahead. As the sun set, Throck found a cave to rest in. The pain from his injured arm was constant. He would heal, but it would take time. He needed to sleep and recover his strength. Tyler did not stop. As darkness fell, he continued moving. He had found water in a small pool and filled a container he had made from plant fibers. He had eaten some of the edible plants he had identified. He was not resting because he did not need to rest yet. His body was built for endurance. While Throck slept, Tyler prepared more surprises. He spent 3 hours creating stakes from hard wood and sharpening them with stones. He placed them in tall grass along a path he knew Throck would likely follow. He covered them carefully, He set up trip lines made from plant fiber. He prepared another deadfall trap, using logs and rocks. When dawn came, Tyler allowed himself 2 hours of sleep in a hidden spot. Then, he started moving again. Throck woke stiff and sore. His injured arm was worse. But he was determined. He would catch this human today and end this humiliation. He picked up the trail and began following again. By noon, Throck had encountered 3 more traps. He avoided 2 of them because his combat instincts warned him in time. The 3rd trap caught him. Sharp stakes hidden in grass pierced through his foot when he stepped wrong. The injury was not serious, but it slowed him down. More importantly, it made him angry and frustrated. Tyler stayed ahead. He never looked back. He just kept moving at his steady, patient pace. The 2nd day passed. Then the 3rd. Throck was becoming exhausted. He had to stop frequently to rest. His injuries were accumulating. Small cuts, bruises, the damaged arm, the wounded foot. None of them were fatal, but together they were wearing him down. Meanwhile, Tyler seemed to be thriving. He had learned the environment. He knew where to find water and food. He had made better tools. He had created a network of traps across a wide area, and he just kept moving. Always moving. Never stopping for long. On the 4th day, something changed. Throck realized with growing horror that he was no longer hunting the human. The human was hunting him. Tyler had circled around behind Throck. Now the human was following the Calrix warrior. Everywhere Throck went, Tyler appeared hours later, not attacking, just following, watching, waiting. Throck tried to ambush Tyler. He hid and waited for the human to walk into his trap. Tyler never came. Somehow, the human knew where Throck was hiding and simply went around. On the 5th day, Throck was stumbling with exhaustion. He had not slept properly in 2 days. Every time he tried to rest, he would wake to find evidence that the human had been nearby. Footprints in the dust, marks on rocks, the feeling of being watched constantly. The observers in orbit watched in amazement. This was not how hunts were supposed to work. The Calrix warrior was bigger, stronger, better armed naturally, but the human was systematically breaking him down through persistence and strategy. "How is this possible?" one observer asked. Kyle Stevens provided the answer. "Because Throck is fighting the way his species evolved to fight. Fast and strong. But humans evolved to hunt differently. We exhaust our prey. We do not need to be faster or stronger. We just need to outlast them. And humans can outlast almost anything." Throck knelt in the dust, breathing hard. His body was covered in small wounds. His injured arm hung useless at his side. His foot throbbed with pain. But worse than the physical damage was the psychological defeat. He had been systematically destroyed by a creature he had considered prey. Tyler stood 3 meters away, spear ready. He was also breathing hard, but his eyes were clear and focused. He had not slept more than a few hours in the past 7 days. He had eaten only plants and a few insects. But he was still standing, still capable of fighting. "Submit," Tyler said simply. His voice was hoarse from dehydration, but the words were clear. "Acknowledge that humans are apex." Apex. Throck looked up at the small human. 7 days ago, he would have laughed at such a demand. Now, he understood the terrible truth. This human had never tried to overpower him. Instead, the human had turned the entire environment into a weapon, had used patience and persistence to wear down a superior opponent, had refused to fight on Calrix terms, and instead forced Throck to fight on human terms. "I submit," Throck said quietly. His translator carried the words to all the observers. "You are Apex. You are not Alpha like us. You are something far more dangerous. You are a predator that never stops, that never quits, that turns time itself into a weapon." Tyler lowered his spear slightly, but did not drop it. Your war prime agreed that the loser would acknowledge the winner's species as superior. Do you confirm this? I confirm it, Throck said. The Calrics thought we understood what Apex meant. We were wrong. We only understood Alpha. The biggest, the strongest, the fastest. But Apex is different. Apex is the one that adapts, the one that endures, the one still standing when everyone else has fallen. Medical teams were dispatched to retrieve both warriors. Tyler was checked and treated for dehydration and minor injuries. Throck required more extensive care. His physical wounds would heal, but the psychological impact would last much longer. On the Defiant, Nicole watched Tyler being brought aboard. She greeted him personally in the medical bay. "Well done, Sergeant," she said. Tyler managed a tired smile. "Just did what humans do best, Captain. I was patient. I adapted. I refused to quit." "The Calrics will honor the agreement now," Nicole said. Throck submitted in front of witnesses from multiple species. "Krieg has no choice but to acknowledge our victory." But Nicole was wrong about what would happen next. On his dreadnought, Krieg watched the same footage everyone else had seen. His champion defeated, his species' reputation damaged. The mighty Calrics, shown to be inferior to soft-skinned humans. Krieg's mandibles clicked, but not in amusement. "This was not a fair test," Krieg announced to his crew. "The human used tricks and deception. This was not true combat. This was cowardice, dressed up as strategy." His tactical officer looked worried. "War prime," Throck submitted. "The other species all witnessed it. If we do not honor the agreement, I honor nothing," Krieg interrupted. "The Calrics do not lose to inferior species. We will attack the human ships now. We will destroy them. Then we will find their home world and conquer them properly. This mockery ends now." The officer tried again. "War prime, is this wise? They defeated our champion. Perhaps they are more dangerous than we thought. They are prey playing clever games," Krieg snarled. "Nothing more. All ships, prepare for combat. We attack in 5 minutes." The alarm sounded on the Defiant. Lieutenant Brandon Cole looked up from his console with wide eyes. "Captain, the Calrics fleet is powering weapons. They are moving to attack positions." Nicole's expression hardened. "So, they do not honor their agreement. Typical alpha predator behavior. When they cannot win the game, they flip the board over." She activated fleet-wide communications. "All ships, battle stations, prepare for combat. Looks like we need to teach them another lesson." Commander Linda Shaw moved to her station. "Captain, we are outnumbered. 5 Calrics dreadnoughts against our 3 cruisers. Their ships are larger and have heavier armor and shields." "True," Nicole agreed. "But what did we just demonstrate down on that moon? We demonstrated that being bigger and stronger does not make you better. It just makes you more confident. And overconfidence is a weakness we can exploit." The Calrics fleet advanced in a standard formation. They moved together as a single unit, their shields overlapping to provide mutual protection. Their weapons charged simultaneously. The plan was obvious: overwhelm the human ships with a massive, coordinated strike. Nicole watched their approach carefully. They fight like they hunt. Direct assault. Overwhelming force. They expect us to either run or die quickly. "What do we do, Captain?" "We fight like humans," Nicole said. "Captains Harris and Lopez, execute scatter pattern Delta on my mark. Ignore the Calrics completely for the first 30 seconds. Focus on deployment." "Understood," came the replies from the other 2 captains. The Calrics opened fire. Massive energy beams lanced out toward the human vessels. It was an impressive display of firepower. Any normal defensive formation would have been crippled by that first strike, but the human ships were not in a defensive formation. On Nicole's command, they scattered in 3 different directions. Each ship moved at maximum speed in seemingly random patterns. The Calrics' weapons tracked them, but the wild maneuvering made accurate targeting difficult. "They flee like prey," Krieg observed with satisfaction. As expected, but his tactical officer was studying the sensor data more carefully. "War Prime. They are not fleeing. They are positioning themselves." "And positioning for what?" Krieg demanded. The answer came quickly. The human ships were not using their weapons yet. Instead, they were deploying something else. Small objects shot out from their hulls. Hundreds of them. Thousands of them. "What are those?" Krieg asked. "Mines," his tactical officer reported. "Simple, explosive devices, but also metallic chaff. Reflective particles designed to confuse our sensors, and delayed detonation charges spreading throughout the combat zone." The Calrix fleet suddenly found themselves moving through a cloud of objects. Their sensors were having difficulty distinguishing between real threats and false echoes. The mines were not powerful enough to seriously damage their shields, but each explosion created more debris and more sensor interference. "This is nothing," Krieg said. "Our shields can handle these weak weapons. All ships, continue advancing. Concentrate fire on the nearest human vessel." But the Calrix were learning what Tyler had already taught Throck. Humans did not fight to win quickly. They fought to win eventually, and they were very good at turning the environment against their enemies. The human ships had not scattered randomly. They had moved to specific positions. Now they circled back, and the Calrix fleet was exactly where Nicole wanted them. The mines and chaff had done their job. The Calrix ships had been forced into a tighter formation to maintain overlapping shields. Their maneuverability was restricted by the debris field they were now in the middle of, and the human ships had moved to positions above and below the Calrix formation. "Fire," Nicole ordered. The human weapons were different from what the Calrix expected. No energy beams. No plasma cannons. Instead, each human ship launched simple metal slugs, kinetic impactors. Dense pieces of metal accelerated to a significant fraction of light speed, using magnetic acceleration. The Calrix shields were designed to deflect energy weapons. They could absorb heat and radiation, but they could not stop simple mass moving at incredible velocity. The impactors punched through shields like they were not even there. They tore through armor plating. They created massive holes in the hulls of the Calrix dreadnoughts. Atmosphere vented into space. Internal systems exploded. Entire sections of ships lost power. The Calrix fleet was not destroyed, but it was crippled. 4 of the 5 dreadnoughts were now drifting, their main systems offline. Only Krieg's flagship remained functional, and it was heavily damaged. Lieutenant Danny Foster at the weapons station reported calmly. "All targets neutralized, Captain. Minimal ammunition expended. No damage to our vessels." Nicole nodded. She opened a communication channel to Krieg's ship. "This is Captain Chen to War Prime Krieg. I believe we have now demonstrated our point twice. First, with individual combat. Now, with fleet combat. In both cases, you relied on superior strength and straightforward tactics. In both cases, we defeated you by being smarter, more adaptable, and refusing to fight on your terms." Krieg stared at the human captain on his view screen. Around him, his bridge crew worked frantically to repair critical systems. The mighty Calrix flagship, which had never been seriously damaged in 3,000 years of warfare, was now barely functional. "What do you want from us?" Krieg asked, finally. His voice had lost its aggressive edge. Now, he sounded tired and confused. "I want exactly what we agreed to before you broke your word," Nicole said firmly. "I want the Calrix to acknowledge that humans are not prey. We are not subjects for your empire. We are equals at minimum, possibly superiors, given what we have just demonstrated. Do you understand?" Quote, Krieg's mandibles clicked slowly. "And if I agree, but my Dominion Council does not accept this? Then we will come to your worlds," Nicole said calmly. "But we will not invade in the way you think. We will not send armies to fight your warriors. We will not try to conquer your planets through force. Then what will you do?" Krieg asked. Nicole smiled, but it was not a pleasant smile. We will make your lives difficult. Very difficult. We will disrupt your supply lines. We will hack your communication systems. We will support any species in your empire that wants independence. We will spread information about your defeats. We will turn your own people against you. We will never stop. We will never quit. We will just keep making problems for you until submitting to our terms seems easier than continuing to resist. She paused to let that sink in. This is what pursuit predators do, Krieg. We do not need to kill our prey in one strike. We just need to exhaust them, wear them down, make them too tired to fight anymore. Then we dictate terms. Krieg was silent for a long moment. He looked at the damage around him. He thought about Throck's defeat. He thought about how easily the human ships had destroyed his fleet. I will speak to the Dominion Council, Krieg said finally. Make them listen, Nicole advised. Because the alternative is that humans become a permanent problem for the Calrix. We have many resources. We have already colonized 12 worlds. We have a growing fleet. We have millions of soldiers. And we have something you do not have. What is that? Krieg asked. We have experience fighting wars of attrition. Long, grinding conflicts, where victory goes not to the strongest, but to the most stubborn. We have fought wars that lasted centuries, wars that destroyed entire civilizations. And we learned from every single one. We became very, very good at this type of warfare. Nicole stood up from her command chair. Take your damaged ships home, Krieg. Repair them. Think carefully about what happened here. Think about whether you really want to start a long war with a species that specializes in exactly that type of conflict. Because I promise you, we will make it last as long as necessary. And we will win eventually. Not because we are stronger, but because we simply will not quit. The communication ended. Nicole turned to her crew. Status report. Any casualties? None, Captain, Linda reported. Minor damage to our shields from their initial attack. But nothing serious. All systems functioning normally. Good. Maintain defensive positions until the Calrix fleet withdraws. Stay alert. I do not trust them to honor even basic military courtesy at this point. Over the next hour, the damaged Calrix ships slowly limped away. They used emergency thrusters to move out of the combat zone, and then jumped to faster-than-light travel. Soon, only empty space remained where the proud Calrix fleet had been. Nicole allowed herself to relax slightly. Well done, everyone. We just taught one of the galaxy's major powers a very important lesson. I hope they remember it. Do you think they will honor the agreement now? Brandon asked. I think Krieg understands what we are, Nicole said. Whether the rest of the Calrix leadership understands is another question. But we have done our part. We demonstrated human capabilities, both in individual combat and in fleet action. The message is clear. She looked at the starfield displayed on the main view screen. Now we see if the Calrix are smart enough to accept reality. 3 weeks later, the Calrix Dominion Council met in their grand chamber on the homeworld. The chamber was designed to intimidate visitors. Massive pillars carved from dark stone rose to support a ceiling 50 meters high. War trophies from conquered species decorated the walls. The council members sat on raised platforms, looking down on anyone who addressed them. Krieg stood in the center of the chamber. His injuries had healed, but he still favored his previously damaged arm slightly. Around him, the council members radiated hostility. You lost to the humans, War Prime Vex stated bluntly. You lost in single combat. You lost in fleet action. You have brought shame to the Calrix Dominion. I brought knowledge, Krieg corrected. I learned something important. Something none of us understood before. And what did you learn? Asked Elder Kresh, the oldest member of the council. His voice was calmer than Vex's, but still skeptical. I learned that we do not understand what Apex truly means, Krieg said. We think it means being the biggest and strongest. But that is alpha, not apex. Apex is something different. Krieg said, our answer. He activated a holographic display. It showed footage from the hunt. Throck pursuing Tyler. The traps. The patient chase. The final confrontation. Watch how the human fights, Krieg narrated. He never tries to match Throck's strength. He never attacks directly. He uses the environment. He uses patience. He exhausts his opponent over days. This is pursuit predation. This is how humans evolved to hunt on their world. The council members watched in silence. Some looked disturbed, others looked thoughtful. Now watch the fleet battle, Krieg continued. He showed footage of the space combat. The human ships scattering. The deployment of mines and chaff. The kinetic weapons punching through Calric's shields. Again, they do not try to match our strength, Krieg explained. They do not build bigger ships or more powerful energy weapons. They use simple physics. They use tactics we do not expect. They fight in ways that turn our advantages into disadvantages. War Prime Vex was not convinced. This only proves they are cowardly. They will not face us in honorable combat. Honor is irrelevant to them, Krieg said flatly. And calling them cowards is dangerous ignorance. They are not afraid of us. They simply refuse to fight on our terms. And that makes them far more dangerous than any opponent we have faced before. He pulled up more data. Information about human history that his intelligence officers had gathered. The humans have fought wars among themselves for their entire history, Krieg said. Wars lasting decades. Wars that nearly destroyed their own planet. They have developed thousands of different weapons. They have studied strategy and tactics for millennia. War is not just something they do occasionally. It is part of their culture. Part of their identity. Elder Kresh leaned forward. Are you saying they are more warlike than the Calrics? No, Krieg said. The Calrics are warriors. We are born for combat. We are bred for it. But humans are something else. They are survivors. They are problem solvers. They approach war like they approach hunting, with patience, with planning, with absolute refusal to accept defeat. He highlighted specific examples from Earth's history. They once fought a war that lasted 100 years. The 100 Years' War, they called it. Can you imagine? 4 generations of soldiers fighting the same conflict. Most species would have given up long before. But not humans. They kept fighting. Another example appeared. They fought 2 global wars in the 20th century. Millions died in each one. Entire cities were destroyed. But they learned from each conflict. They adapted. They developed new weapons, new tactics. By the end of their second global war, they had created atomic weapons capable of destroying cities instantly. The council was very quiet now. The implications were becoming clear. They created weapons that could destroy their own species, Krieg continued. And they came close to using them multiple times. They stood at the brink of self-extinction. And you know what stopped them? Not fear, not weakness, but the realization that mutual destruction served no purpose. They chose survival over pride. That is wisdom we Calrics have never needed to learn. War Prime Vex spoke again, but his voice was less certain. I propose we accept their terms, Krieg said. We acknowledge them as equals. We establish diplomatic relations. We agree not to threaten their territory or their species. And we learn from them. Learn what? Vex demanded. We are the Calrics. We are the greatest warriors in the galaxy. We are great warriors, Krieg agreed. But humans are great survivors. And in the long term, survival matters more than glory. We have conquered 47 species using our traditional methods. But humans are not like those species. They will not submit easily. They will not break under pressure. They will simply fight back in ways we cannot predict or counter effectively. Elder Kresh spoke up. You believe we would lose a prolonged war with them? I believe such a war would cost us far more than we could gain, Krieg said carefully. Even if we eventually won, which is not certain, we would spend decades fighting. We would lose ships. We would lose warriors. We would lose resources. And for what? To conquer one species that would resist us constantly? To prove a point that does not need proving? He looked around at the council members. The humans offered us something valuable. They offered us a chance to avoid unnecessary conflict. They offered us respect if we give them respect in return. That is not weakness. That is pragmatism. Something we should consider adopting. The debate continued for hours. Some council members agreed with Krieg. Others wanted to continue fighting. But slowly, opinion shifted. Too many council members had reviewed the same data Krieg presented. Too many had seen the footage of Throck's defeat and the fleet's destruction. 6 months had passed since the confrontation between humans and the Calrics. The galaxy had watched the conflict closely, and word of the outcome had spread far. Many species were curious about these humans who had defeated the mighty Calric's dominion without actually destroying them. The Galactic Council chamber was located on a neutral station orbiting a binary star system. Representatives from dozens of species gathered here to conduct diplomacy and trade. The chamber was designed to accommodate many different body types and environmental needs. Some species breathed oxygen. Others required methane or nitrogen. Some needed high gravity. Others needed low gravity. The station's advanced technology allowed everyone to participate comfortably. Today was special. Today, humanity would formally join the Galactic Council as a recognized sovereign species. It was a ceremony that usually took decades to arrange, but given what had happened with the Calrics, the other species had fast-tracked humanity's application. Ambassador Kate Morrison stood in the human delegation area. She was Jake's older sister, selected specifically for this role. Fleet Command believed the Calrics would respect the family connection. It showed that humans valued their relationships across time and distance. Kate was 53 years old. She had been a diplomat for 20 years, working on Earth to resolve conflicts between different human nations. She had negotiated peace treaties, trade agreements, and cultural exchanges. Now, she would do the same thing, but with alien species instead of human ones. War Prime Krieg stood in the Calric's delegation area. He wore formal armor polished to a high shine. His 4 arms held ceremonial weapons that signified his rank. His 3 eyes watched Kate carefully. Over the past 6 months, he had communicated with her many times. They had developed a professional relationship, built on mutual respect and honest communication. The Galactic Council Elder, a being from a species called the Mentari, called the session to order. The Mentari were ancient. They had been spacefaring for 10,000 years. They were respected as mediators and peacekeepers. We gather today to formally recognize humanity as a member of the Galactic Council, the Elder said. Their voice was translated into dozens of languages simultaneously. But before we proceed with the ceremony, War Prime Krieg of the Calric's Dominion has requested permission to speak. This is unusual, but given the circumstances, we have granted this request. Krieg stepped forward. The chamber became very quiet. Many species had suffered under Calric's aggression. Seeing a War Prime humble himself publicly was unprecedented. I speak today to acknowledge a truth, Krieg began. The Calric's Dominion has long claimed to be the apex predators of this region of space. We believed our strength, our natural weapons, our warrior culture made us superior to all others. We were wrong. Murmurs spread through the chamber. Krieg continued. We encountered humanity and treated them as we have treated all species. We demanded submission. We threatened violence. We assumed our physical superiority would guarantee our dominance. But humans taught us something we had not understood. They taught us the difference between being alpha and being apex. He activated a holographic display visible to everyone. It showed Earth spinning in space. Then it showed various predators from Earth's ecosystem. lions, wolves, bears, eagles. These are alpha predators on the human homeworld, Krieg explained. Each one is powerful in its own environment. Each one is the strongest in its territory. But none of them are the apex predator of Earth. The display changed. Now it showed humans, hunting across ancient plains, building tools, working together, pursuing prey for days, until the prey collapsed from exhaustion. Humans are the apex predator, Krieg said. Not because they are the strongest, not because they have the sharpest claws or the best natural weapons, but because they are adaptable, because they work together, because they think strategically, because they refuse to quit, no matter how difficult the situation becomes. He looked directly at Kate. When we challenged them, we expected a quick victory. We thought our warrior champion would easily defeat their champion. We thought our fleet would destroy their ships. We were wrong on both counts. Not because humans are stronger than us, but because they are smarter. They turned our strengths into weaknesses. They fought in ways we did not expect. They demonstrated that intelligence and persistence can defeat raw power. Krieg turned to address the full council. I stand here today to formally acknowledge that humans are not prey. They are not a species to be conquered. They are equals, at minimum, perhaps even superiors in some ways. The Calrix Dominion recognizes humanity as a sovereign species, with full rights and protections under galactic law. The chamber erupted in surprised conversation. A Calrix war prime publicly admitting another species was superior? This had never happened before. The Mentari elder called for quiet. Thank you, War Prime Krieg. Ambassador Morrison, would you like to respond? Kate stepped forward. She looked calm and professional. Inside, she was carefully calculating every word. This moment would define human-alien relations for generations. Thank you, War Prime Krieg, Kate said. Your words are appreciated and accepted. Humanity recognizes the Calrix Dominion as a sovereign species as well. We have no desire for conflict or conquest. We came to space to explore, to learn, and to make friends with other species. She smiled slightly. But we also came prepared to defend ourselves if necessary. This is the nature of humanity. We hope for peace, but we prepare for war. We seek cooperation, but we maintain the ability to resist aggression. This is not because we are warlike. It is because we are survivors. Kate activated her own holographic display. It showed human history, great achievements and terrible conflicts side by side. The invention of writing, the building of cities, but also wars, famines, and near extinctions. Humans have faced many challenges in our history, Kate explained. Natural disasters, diseases, predators, and conflicts with each other. We have nearly destroyed ourselves multiple times. But we always survived. We always adapted. We always learned from our mistakes and became stronger. The display showed human technology advancing. From stone tools to spacecraft, from cave paintings to faster-than-light communication. When we reached space, we brought all of that experience with us, Kate continued. We brought our creativity, our determination, our ability to cooperate on massive scales, and yes, we brought our military knowledge too. Not because we want to fight, but because we know that sometimes conflict is unavoidable. So we prepare, we train, we develop the tools and tactics we need to defend ourselves. She looked around at the assembled species. But we also brought something else. We brought hope. Hope that the galaxy could be better than Earth was. Hope that different species could work together peacefully. Hope that we could build something greater than any one species could build alone. Kate turned back to Krieg. The Calrix tested us. They challenged us, and we responded with force because we had to. But now, the test is over. Now, we can move forward. The Calrics have offered us respect and diplomatic relations. We accept that offer gladly. We look forward to learning from the Calrics and sharing what we know with them. The Mentari elder nodded approvingly. Well spoken, Ambassador Morrison. This is exactly the kind of wisdom we hope to see from all council members. Now, we will proceed with the formal recognition ceremony. The ceremony took another hour. Various protocols had to be followed. Documents had to be signed. Oaths had to be taken. But finally, it was done. Humanity was officially a member of the Galactic Council, with all the rights and responsibilities that came with that status. After the ceremony, Kate and Krieg met privately in a diplomatic suite. The room was designed to be comfortable for both species. Artificial gravity could be adjusted. Atmosphere could be customized. Furniture could be configured for different body types. They sat across from each other. Kate had coffee, a human beverage. Krieg had something that looked like thick purple liquid but was apparently a Calric stimulant. That went well, Kate said. Better than I expected, honestly. Krieg clicked his mandibles in agreement. Your species has made a strong first impression. Many species are now curious about humans. Some are afraid. Others are excited about the possibilities. And the Calrics? Kate asked. How do your people feel about all this? Krieg was quiet for a moment. Divided. Some believe we showed wisdom by accepting reality. Others believe we showed weakness by not fighting to the end. It will take time for our culture to adjust. We have been alpha predators for 3,000 years. Learning to be something different will not happen quickly. We can help with that transition if you want, Kate offered. Cultural exchange programs, educational initiatives, joint research projects. These things help species understand each other better. I will propose such programs to the Dominion Council, Krieg said. But tell me something, Ambassador. When your brother Jake first encountered us, was he afraid? Kate smiled. Of course he was afraid. Fear is natural and healthy. It keeps you alert and careful. But fear did not control his decisions. He did what needed to be done, despite being afraid. That is courage. Not the absence of fear, but action in the face of fear. And you? Are you afraid now? Always, Kate admitted. I am afraid I will make a mistake that damages relations between our species. I am afraid I will say something wrong and start a conflict. I am afraid I will fail to represent humanity properly. But again, that fear does not control me. It motivates me to be more careful, more thoughtful, more diplomatic. Krieg seemed to understand. This is another human trait. You acknowledge your limitations, but do not let them stop you. You feel fear, but act anyway. You recognize danger, but do not retreat from it. We prefer to call it pragmatic courage, Kate said. We know we are not invincible. We know we can fail. But we try anyway, because the only way to guarantee failure is to never try at all. They talked for another hour, about trade agreements, about cultural differences, about potential areas of cooperation, about how to manage the species who were nervous about both the Calrics and the humans. Finally, Krieg stood to leave. Ambassador Morrison, I must ask you one more question. It has troubled me since our first conflict. If we had not submitted, if we had continued fighting, would humans truly have pursued us for decades or longer? Kate looked at him seriously. War Prime, let me tell you a story. In the year 1325 on Earth, 2 human cities went to war. The war was called the War of the Bucket. Do you know why? No, Krieg admitted. Because soldiers from one city stole a wooden bucket from a well in the other city. That was the cause. A bucket. And do you know how long that war lasted? I cannot imagine. 335 years, 3 centuries, dozens of generations of soldiers, thousands of deaths, enormous cost in resources and suffering, all because of a stolen bucket. Kate let that sink in. So yes, If you had not submitted, we would have pursued you. Not for years. Not for decades. For centuries, if necessary. Not because we are cruel, but because we are persistent. Once we commit to something, we see it through to the end. That is what apex means to us. Not the strongest or the fastest, but the one still standing when everyone else has given up. Krieg's three eyes studied her carefully. Your species terrifies me, Ambassador. Good, Kate said with a genuine smile. Fear means respect. Respect means you will think carefully before making decisions that affect us. And careful decision-making means we can build a lasting, peaceful relationship. She stood and extended her hand. It was a human gesture of greeting and agreement. Krieg had learned about it in his cultural studies. He carefully took her hand with one of his 4 hands and shook it gently. To a lasting, peaceful relationship, Krieg said. To the future, Kate agreed. After Krieg left, Kate stood at the window looking out at the stars. She thought about her brother Jake, out there somewhere, on the Wanderer, still exploring. She thought about Tyler Grant, who was now training other Marines in survival techniques. She thought about Captain Nicole Chen, who was helping design the next generation of human warships. She thought about all the humans who had come before. The hunters on ancient plains. The farmers who built civilizations. The scientists who unlocked nature's secrets. The soldiers who fought impossible battles. The explorers who reached for the stars. All of them were part of the same story. The story of a species that refused to quit. That adapted to every challenge. That survived when survival seemed impossible. That went from being prey on a dangerous world to being a spacefaring civilization in just a few thousand years. And now that story was entering a new chapter. Humans among the stars. Learning from other species, teaching what they knew, building alliances, defending themselves when necessary, always pushing forward, always growing, always refusing to accept limitations as permanent. Kate smiled. The Calrics thought they were teaching humans a lesson about power and dominance. Instead, humans taught them something far more important. They taught them that apex is not about being the strongest. It is about being the most adaptable, the most persistent, the most willing to do whatever it takes to survive and thrive. The galaxy would continue to learn that lesson. Some species would learn it easily. Others would resist. But eventually, everyone would understand what humanity represented. Not a threat to be feared, but a partner to be respected. Not conquerors seeking empire, but survivors sharing the tools of survival. And if anyone ever forgot that lesson, if anyone ever decided to test humanity again, they would learn what Tyler taught Throck on that barren moon. They would learn what Nicole taught Krieg in that space battle. They would learn what humans had known for 3 million years, that the most dangerous predator is not the one with the biggest claws or the strongest body. It is the one that never stops coming, the one that adapts to every situation, the one that turns every setback into a lesson and every challenge into an opportunity. It is the one that simply refuses to quit. That is what apex truly means, and humanity had demonstrated it to the entire galaxy. Finally, Elder Kresh called for a vote. All in favor of accepting the human terms and establishing diplomatic relations. The vote was not unanimous, but it was decisive. The majority of the council agreed. It is decided, Kresh announced. The Calrix Dominion will acknowledge humanity as a sovereign species. We will establish formal diplomatic relations. We will respect their territory and their rights. War Prime Krieg, you will serve as our primary liaison to the humans. You understand them better than anyone else among our people. Krieg bowed his head in acceptance. I will serve the Dominion as always, but I will also serve truth. And the truth is this. We thought we understood what it meant to be apex predators. We were wrong. The humans have taught us that apex is not about being strong. It is about being adaptable, being patient, being willing to do whatever is necessary to survive and thrive. He looked at the council members seriously. Perhaps it is time we learned from that lesson. Krieg appeared on the screen. His bridge was dark behind him. Sparks flew from damaged systems. His three eyes stared at Nicole with a mixture of anger and something else. Fear. This is impossible, Krieg said. Your weapons should not have penetrated our shields. Your ships are smaller and weaker. Our weapons are simple physics, Nicole explained patiently. Kinetic energy equals 1/2 mass times velocity squared. Make something heavy enough and fast enough, and nothing can stop it. As for our ships being smaller, that just makes us harder to hit. We designed our vessels for speed and maneuverability, not for absorbing damage. We avoid getting hit in the first place. She leaned forward. You Calrics fight like predators. You rely on natural advantages. Size, strength, armor. But humans learned warfare from a different source. We learned from fighting each other for thousands of years. We learned that the side with better tactics wins more often than the side with better weapons. We learned to turn weaknesses into strengths. We learned to never, ever fight fair if we can avoid it. On the 6th day, Throck made his final stand. He chose a defensive position in a cave system. Here, his superior strength and natural weapons would give him an advantage. When the human finally came, Throck would tear him apart in close combat. Tyler did not enter the cave. He had been tracking Throck for 2 days now. He knew the Calrix warrior was exhausted and desperate, so Tyler did what humans had done for thousands of years when facing a cornered predator. He gathered dry brush and piled it at the cave entrance. Then he started a fire. Smoke filled the cave. Throck coughed and choked. His 3 eyes burned. He could not stay inside. He had to come out or suffocate. When Throck emerged, Tyler was waiting. The human had made a spear from a straight sapling and a sharp stone. Throck swung his claws, but the smoke had blinded him temporarily. His injured arm and foot made him slow. Tyler stayed just outside the Calrix warrior's reach and struck carefully. Not at Throck's armor, at his eyes, at his joints, at the gaps where armor plates met. Quick, precise strikes, thrust and retreat, thrust and retreat. Tyler never stayed in one place long enough for Throck to grab him. The fight lasted 30 minutes. Throck grew weaker with every passing moment. Blood ran from dozens of small wounds. His vision was blurry. His muscles were cramping from exhaustion. Finally, Throck collapsed to his knees. Nicole smiled. It was not a friendly smile. Because I know who I am sending. Sergeant Tyler Grant, Marine Corps survival instructor. He has spent the last 10 years teaching other Marines how to survive in hostile environments with no equipment. He has trained in deserts, jungles, mountains, and frozen wastelands. He knows more ways to kill someone with improvised weapons than most people know ways to cook eggs. She pulled up Tyler's file on her command screen. The crew could see his service record. Multiple combat deployments, survival training certifications, commendations for creative thinking under pressure. But more importantly, Nicole continued, Tyler is human. He carries 3 million years of pursuit predator evolution in his genes. He has patience. He has endurance. He has the ability to adapt and improvise. And he absolutely refuses to quit. Ever. That is what makes him dangerous. That is what makes all humans dangerous. She looked at her crew seriously. The Calrix think this hunt will prove they are stronger than us. They are wrong. This hunt will teach them what happens when an ambush predator meets a pursuit predator. It will teach them that being alpha and being apex are not the same thing. Nicole turned back to the view screen, which now showed the moon where the hunt would take place. Tomorrow, she said quietly, the Calrix will learn what apex truly means. A had more soldiers. But you know what? We are still here. We survived. We won. Not because we were stronger, but because we refused to quit. We adapted. We learned. We found ways to turn our weaknesses into strengths. He closed the files and looked at his crew again. The Calrics are about to start a fight with a species that has been fighting wars for 10,000 years. Wars against nature. Wars against each other. We learned how to survive when everything wanted us dead. We learned how to hunt animals bigger and stronger than us. We learned how to win. Against impossible odds. Jake smiled again. So we are going to teach them a lesson. We are going to show them what happens when you corner an apex predator. We are going to show them what humans really are. The crew looked at their commander. His confidence was infectious. They were still scared, but now they felt something else too. Hope. Determination. The Calrics thought this was the end of humanity's story. They were wrong. It was just the beginning.